Schedule a Zoom with me at GCExperts.com/Zoom.
How about yourself today?
Fantastic. I leave this thing open a lot during the day. Who am I speaking with?
Brad Cormack.
Oh, hi, Brad.
Happy Wednesday to you, sir.
Thanks. How can I help you?
I'm the owner of a couple of swimming pool companies, and I'm interested in the government contracting space. One of the companies that I own is a construction company, and one of them is a service and repair company. And due to some legal problems and issues, I'm going to be closing the swimming pool construction company and just running the service and repair business and doing some small construction projects on the other company. But the closure of the swimming pool construction company is going to cause me to have a personal bankruptcy and deal with all the issues that are associated with that. And so my main concern is that if I were to be a business that was bidding in the government contract space, how would that impact me from a PPP perspective?
When I talk about PP, I talk about past performance. I'm not familiar with PPP.
Performance payment performance bonds,
Oh, payment and performance. Okay, yes. All right, let's talk about this. Number one is the bankruptcy is meaningless. Number two is if your credit score is below 680, I have a path for you, but it's going to be harder. So, like in a lot of my videos, I talk about guys winning about 1 in 20 that they bid. For this alternative methodology, that drops to about 1 in 40. So, you're basically talking about twice the amount of effort to get federal contracts. Now, I don't want to disillusion anybody about anything. If you've watched enough of my videos, you know I don't bullshit anybody about anything. And so I'll tell you that, I have had guys that have come into my program and started with option B. By the way, it's no secret. It's tripartite escrow agreements. It's one of the 5 types of payment and performance protection outlined in Federal Acquisition Regulation 28.102. But I've had guys that have done millions of dollars of federal contracts using that methodology and eventually pay everybody back and, move on and live their life. So, but I don't want anybody to be thinking that that's just a walk in the park. There's a lot of work there.
For sure. Yeah. So how long does it take? Well, how much pre-construction time is associated with bidding on the average job? If you have to bid on 20 to get one or bid on 40 to get one.
It can range to 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, the easy ones take longer to fill out the paperwork than it does to come up with a bid number. Right. And then, people that are new tell me that they're spending an hour on their first one or 2 hours on their first one. I mean, once you get past the first one, it becomes a lot easier because you're just, the first time you look at this shit, you're going, well, that's a bunch of gobbledygook. And so, I've got 10 videos on how to fill out bid forms to help people streamline that process. But, by the time you've got your 10th one in, it shouldn't take you very long at all to fill out the paperwork.
Okay. Well, that was my main question.
Yeah. Well, I always say at this point in my life and career, people only call me for 2 reasons. They either have questions about federal contracts or problems on federal contracts. And so you've got my attention. If you can think of anything else you want to know, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Well, I've already seen several of your videos, and it seems like a good program, and it seems like a good business to be in.
It is.
But putting together 40 bids to get one looks like a long road to hoe. So maybe I
The
need to
good
wait until I
news
get
is
self.
the good.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but just consider that the government's putting out 100 of these things a day. So it's not like there's a lack of opportunities.
Yeah. It's just how much time do you have to be able to invest in sending out the bids?
Exactly. And, I would say I tell most of my guys that to start off, I want 4 hours a week out of you. In your case, it would be 8 hours a week out of you. So, I mean, you're right. That you got to set aside time to do that.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't seem like a lot of time compared to the amount of hours that I work now.
Well, I
It's
don't know. I
yeah,
mean, to me, if somebody asked me to do 8 hours a week of something, I'd tell them to fuck off and I'd go drink a beer next to my pool. But, so, everybody's different as in regards to what, their time is worth. And so the guys in my program, I just tell them start with 4 hours a week.
so basically, if you have a credit score that's too low, the other pathway is the tripartite payment performance guarantee.
Yes, so
And
it's FAR 28.102. There's five types of payment performance protection. Number one is bonds. Number two is irrevocable letter of credit. Number three is tripartite escrow agreement. Number four is you can put cash up. You can write the government a check. And number five is land. If you have a deed to land that's got value exceeding the contract amount, you can turn the deed over and then they'll give it back to you when you're done.
right, and to take any upfront money to get into a tripartite agreement.
Yes, it'll be about 2% of your contract amount. So if you get a $50,000 contract, they're going to want $1,000 up front for the tripartite escrow agreement.
And whatever the contract is, the contractor and or their subcontractors are funding the entire amount.
Generally speaking, it's typically about 90%. So 90% of my contracts over my entire career, the subcontractor fronted or subcontractors fronted everything moving into the job. On rare occasions, maybe 1 in 10 jobs that I did, if somebody needed a little something to get out there and get started, if it made sense, I did that.
Right. And you're promising that they're going to get paid in 2 to 3 weeks from the time that they finish, kind of thing.
It's a paid when paid, and I'm very upfront with them ahead of time that this is a paid when paid. It's federal government. You're protected two different ways for getting paid. One is the Federal Prompt Payment Act, which guarantees you that you will get your money within 7 days of my receipt of money. Okay? Nobody wants to go fight the DOJ over something like that. Number two is this federal contract has payment and performance protection. Here's a copy of my bond, or here's a copy of the tripartite escrow agreement. And so they can see that, this is federally protected, that they're going to get paid.
So the government ranks the contractors based upon what type of payment performance that they're participating in.
Not
And
ranked.
tripartite.
Not ranked. It's five types, not one is better than the other.
But what I'm saying is, you said that basically people who are not able to get bonded, who have to get a tripartite agreement, are going to basically, instead of getting 1 out of 20, they're going to get 1 out of 40 on average.
There's a reason for that, and it has nothing to do with how competitive they are. What it has to do is contracting officers, they're taught how to administer federal contracts, these procurement officials. Okay?
Right.
And in FAR 12, I can't remember if it's FAR 12 or FAR 15, but I can look that up if you want me to. But in the FAR, it says that they have to pick 2 of the 5 and put it in the solicitation. Well, what they do, because people are lazy, is they go to FAR 28.102 and they pick the first 2. And they put it in the contract because it said you have to pick 2. And then the contractor picks 1 of the 2 you picked. Now, in the workshop, I teach RFQs, requests for quotes. Everything is negotiable prior to award. So what you end up having to do on tripartite escrow agreements is contacting the contracting officer and negotiating a tripartite escrow agreement to be used instead of bonds or irrevocable letter of credit. Some contracting officers don't even know what the fuck a tripartite escrow agreement is, even though it's part of their training, it's part of the FAR, it's part of what Congress has already approved. It's an educational process.
Right.
And what happens is, and I don't know that it's 1 in 40, it might be 1 in 35. It's been a while since I've personally negotiated with COs, and things change over time. So, don't just sit in your head and think, Jesus Christ, this guy said 1 in 40, and all of a sudden it's 1 in 7, and think I'm a moron. But, I just want to tell people the truth as I know it.
What you're saying is that it's a slightly more administrative burden on the contracting procurement official to deal with a tripartite agreement compared to an irrevocable letter of credit or a bond.
That's a simpler way of saying it. It's not perfect, but it's close enough.
And so, but what you're saying, and now, so that's just part of the bid/quote process and the contracting process. So what you're saying is that some officials may pull back after they attempt to award you the contract whenever you try to use tripartite.
That's right, because it says everything is negotiable prior to award for RFQs. But the other side of that is they don't have to negotiate with you. They can just say, no, we'd rather work with somebody that's got bonding. And that's why I say you've got a 1 in 35 or 1 in 40 as opposed to a 1 in 20.
Okay, that makes sense to me. All right, I understand. And the irrevocable letter of credit or cash, what percent of that are they normally wanting? Like 100%?
Yes, in other words, if you want a $100,000 contract, and you want to use an irrevocable letter of credit, you have to provide a letter from a bank saying that you have an irrevocable letter of credit up to $100,000. And if you can provide that to them, they'll take that as payment and performance protection.
Okay, sounds good.
Now, just this is something that I don't tell everybody, but since we're on the topic, I'll let you know that around 2002, no, maybe probably 2005, but anyway, I took $100,000 to a bank and opened up a CD for $100,000. Then told the bank that I wanted a line of credit for $100,000 with the CD guaranteeing the line of credit. And then I was able to use that as an irrevocable letter of credit to the government to protect the job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you know what I think I can do is once I get the bankruptcy taken care of, it'll probably allow me to be able to have access to some of my home equity. And then what I can do is I can create a home equity line of credit to be able to use an irrevocable letter of credit.
Just giving you some ideas, man.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well,
hey, what fucked up the pool company? Because I've been reading a lot about this ash problem in the concrete. Was that part of the deal, or just general business fuck ups?
no, what I had was is that I had a business partner for 7 years. And I went and I took my son on a fishing trip to Alaska. And his performance had been going downhill for about two years. He had been just not doing well. I mean, just a lot of drama in his life, a lot of problems in his life with his wife and his kids and his drinking. And 2 days after I left, or actually about 4 days after I left, he had wound up spending about 5 hours in the office since I left. He came to the office around 9 o'clock in the morning, went out for lunch, came back drunk, worked a couple of more hours, then went back out to the bar. And then whenever he left the bar after he had 4 TX whiskeys and Diet Coke, ran through a intersection with his F-250 that I had just recently bought him, and sent 3 people to the hospital and totaled 3 vehicles. got arrested for DWI, and I wound up terminating him. And I consulted with my attorney on that based upon the circumstances that were available to me. And my attorney said that I was on solid ground, that I was not going to have any problems at all. And that turned out not to be true. And I had an employee that walked out of the office as a trader and took a treasure trove of documents to him and his attorney, which created exposure. So basically, that business wound up having to be basically dissolved because of that particular incident there.
Wow.
So you have to, there's an old saying, Bird, you have to be careful who you deal with, because they will drag you down if they're bad. You cannot ever rehabilitate anybody. You cannot teach somebody a work ethic. You cannot break somebody's addiction. You cannot cause somebody to not want to sleep with their wife. You cannot cause somebody to know how to deal with children in a positive parental way if they were never taught that.
Yeah.
And whatever their problems are, they're going to wind up dumping their problems on you at some point in time. And it could be a very costly mistake if you're not prepared for it. And I thought that I was, but it turned out that I wasn't. So anyways, the good news is that I have another little company to fall back on. So it's
Yeah.
not like I'm just out in the cold sleeping on the street. I've got a sort of a fallback, but I'm dealing with the same type of experience that many other construction companies who deal in the residential space deal with. And that is that there's no barrier to entry, because there's no competition associated with being a swimming pool person. And I consider myself to be a swimming pool professional, better than almost anybody who somebody would talk to. But between illegal aliens who we have to compete against, and any other fly-by-night pool company that can provide whatever kind of price that they want, margins are just basically extremely hard to get. And so you wind up just churning money. And so there's a place where I can go that I can use my construction takeoff skills and my project management skills and my organizational skills to be able to execute things and get a lot higher margins and work a lot less. Then I'm interested in investing in that.
Yeah.
And based on the videos that I've seen from you already, I have a very high level of interest, and I believe that I could be very successful, because doing construction takeoffs and managing projects like what you got, what are probably available, are kind of in my bailiwick. That's kind of something that I'm good and passionate about.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a life-changing thing.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about the bullshit, but based on this conversation, you're certainly qualified for my stuff, and probably sounds like it would make a big impact in basically your whole life. So, man, you just tell me what song and dance you need to hear from me, and I'll give it to you.
Well, I don't think I need to hear any kind of a song and dance from you. I'm just not sure whether or not I should just go ahead and dive in now and just try to, work in, uh, bidding and getting 1 out of 40, or should I try to resolve all my issues and maybe do it next year?
Well,
Because there's going to be a lot of that are associated with the program too, with bid tracker and all that kind of stuff. And if what if I only have time to bid 40 contracts a month, and I'm only getting maybe one job a month, and I'm really not able to justify the additional overhead expenses.
what additional overhead expenses?
Well, the membership costs money, right? Bid
Six
tracker.
hundred $600 a month? I mean, in the scheme of things, that's not. I mean, dude, I got a guy in my as a client named Ricky Crawford, and as far as like guys go, I'm gonna say he's about as close to you as possible. His first federal contract, he got it. I don't know, probably 4 weeks ago or something. He negotiated a tripartite escrow agreement The job was $42,000. It cost him $7,000 to do it. And not only that, but he finished the job a week before he was going in for open heart surgery and sent me an email just glowing over how this extra money is going to really help during his recovery. Like, that's the kind of shit I love to read, and I love to, help people and help them into those kinds of situations. So, but look, I'm not going to sit here and go, hey, buy my shit today because I'm going to change your life. Like, I don't care personally whether you do it or don't do it, but I want to make sure you have all the options and the best information to make your choice. Because really, at the end of the day, look, guys like me out on the internet gurus, they're always sitting there saying, okay, for $19.95, if you buy my shit, we're going to give you the 7-step keys to success and blah, blah. And I absolutely refuse to be that guy. But on the other hand, as a person that helps people for a living, well, not for a living, but for what it is that I do, when I see a situation where, damn, you're the perfect guy for this shit, Like, how do I express that without sounding like a slime ball? I don't know, but.
Well, how many jobs do you think your friend had to bid to get that that $42,000 job?
I never thought to ask him, but I can forward you the email, and you can email him and ask him yourself.
Okay. Sounds good. So if I decide that I want to go ahead and start your program, do I just click on the links that are available to me?
Probably not. Just text me and say, hey, send me that link to the workshop, and I'll text it to you.
Okay, sounds good. How are you doing otherwise?
Dude, I live in Austin, Texas. My life is perfect. My wife just brought me in a sandwich. It's been sitting here in front of me. I'm waiting for this dumb phone call to get over with so I can eat it.
Well, let me wrap it up for you, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Brad. I'm just teasing on the dumb phone call part.
I know. I like your sense of humor.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Bye, Sean.
Bye-bye, Brad.